Welcome to the Alcohol Minimalist podcast. I'm your host, Molly Watts. If you want to change your drinking habits and create a peaceful relationship with alcohol, you're in the right place. This podcast explores the strategies I use to overcome a lifetime of family alcohol abuse, more than 30 years of anxiety and worry about my own drinking, and what felt like an unbreakable daily drinking habit. Becoming an alcohol minimalist means removing excess alcohol from your life so it doesn't remove you from life. It means being able to take alcohol or leave it without feeling deprived. It means to live peacefully, being able to enjoy a glass of wine without feeling guilty and without needing to finish the bottle. With science on our side, we'll shatter your past patterns and eliminate your excuses. Changing your relationship with alcohol is possible. I'm here to help you do it. Let's start now.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Alcohol Minimalist podcast with me, your host, Molly Watts, coming to you from a wet and cold Oregon. And I have a disclaimer right here at the top. If this is the very first time you're listening to this show, please know this is not my normal voice. For my longtime listeners, you know I sound a little better than this. I'm coming off of a respiratory tract infection, cold, and lost my voice in the process. So anyway, that's why I sound a little froggy this week. Luckily, I have an interview, so you won't have to listen to me too much. I am really delighted to bring and share this information with you because I think it's just a great little company. I'm talking to Dan and Mary Cassidy. Dan and Mary are the founders and designers at Pourtions, and that's Pourtions. They have long established careers in the fields of advertising, graphic arts, fashion, and they got this idea like almost 10 years ago now, after seeing kind of portion sizes over the years just increasing, right? Whether it's the donut cart or big gulps to the never-ending pasta bowls. And they saw an opportunity to help people in a creative and fun way remember that real portions are a lot smaller, right? And that's the same thing that applies to alcohol. And they've actually created a brand, Pourtions, and you can find them at portionsjustright.com. That's Pourtions. So portionsjustright.com. They have glassware, wine glasses, barware that gives you a marker for what they call a perfect pour. Now, I will tell you that a perfect pour in their world is 6 ounces of wine because you can divide a bottle between two couples with one person each getting one glass of wine. It's really just a little bit, 5 ounces is technically a standard drink. I think the point is that if you stick to, 1.2 standard drinks, you're doing pretty great. And you're doing great. And they have these really clever little captions on the sides of the glass that make it fun to pay attention. And really at the end of the day, that's what I want. I want you paying closer attention, being mindful, right? That's a part of creating a peaceful relationship with alcohol. And so luckily, Dan and Mary saved me this week and had this conversation so that you don't have to listen to me try to grit my way through a podcast recording with all just my voice. Probably wouldn't make it the whole time, let's be honest. One small reminder, if you haven't signed up yet for step 1 in January, I really want to encourage you. There's so much information on the website, www.mollywatts.com/step1. But if you have questions about it and are curious, I've got these great bonuses happening with moderation management, with for the premium dryuary version, with Sunnyside, the Sunnyside app giving 90-day free trial. These are all included. Step 1, my one-on-one online hybrid coaching program, online course and one-on-one coaching program. I really want you to be a part of it. I want to help you get 2023 off to the very best start that you can. I want you to lay the groundwork for creating that peaceful relationship with alcohol. And step one is a great way to do it. So please check it out. I only have a limited number of spots available, and there's only a limited time that you can get this accomplished before we dive in January. So go to www.mollywatts.com/step1 for more on that. All right, here is my conversation with Dan and Mary Cassidy from portionsjustright.com. That's POURTIONS justright.com. You will hear me say portions.net later in the show, but either one of them works. So go check them out. You have a discount code AM20, which is going to get you 20% off any order that you place. Have a great week, folks. I look forward to talking to you next week. I've got a great episode planned. It's a really important one for ending the year of 2022. And I just wish you the very happiest holiday until then. Hey, good morning, Dan and Mary. Thank you so much for being here on the Alcohol Minimalist podcast. You, of course, I've already told you, shared with you, you're saving my bacon because as you can hear, my voice has really decided to leave the building for me this week. And so if we weren't having this conversation today, there wouldn't be a podcast episode this week, or I'd be redropping something else. So that is exciting. But I'm also just super excited to share with the audience what you guys are doing. And because I just loved it. I love the idea. And I wanted to, give some optimism, give some hope, give some fun to this conversation, because sometimes it's a little weighty. Sometimes the conversations around alcohol get a little heavy. And so welcome to the show.
Thank you, Molly.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Really appreciate it.
So tell me about Pourtions, and it's POURTIONS, everybody.
Yes.
So Pourtions.
Get it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And we'll put the link. Yep. We'll put the link in the show notes, portions.net. Tell me a little bit about the genesis for your company and kind of why this came about.
Why it came about. I'll try to make it brief. So the actual way it happened, I'm in advertising. I'm a writer, and I've been in it for quite some time. So I commute to the city in New York for the last 20 years. And I go to the same place every day and get my tea and my bagel or muffin or something like that. And I just happened to know one day that I went in and everything seemed huge. The donuts, everything was just enormous. And I kept thinking to myself, when did this happen that the portions for something just got doubled, at least doubled? So I started kind of paying attention from there and just looked at, restaurants and things like that. Every order you get is really for two. It's enormous. And, places like never-ending pasta bowls, big gulps, everything is just proportions went crazy. And I thought, well, there's got to be a way to kind of point that out, because I just realized it myself. And I thought, well, maybe we can make it kind of a fun way for people just to be aware of what's happening.
Who knows what an actual portion, a correct portion looks like anymore.
Right.
Because we were also saying all of the glasses and the plates were getting bigger too. We did a little historical research and everything is getting bigger. The plates used to be 9 inches and now they're 12. And the glasses used to be like a cocktail glass was 4 ounces. And now you see, they start at 16. So, what does an actual portion look like? And when we researched what is out there, it's all, crayon colors, and it looks like it's a plate for a toddler, with a little bit of
Yeah, it's like when you're in the school lunch cafeteria, the little divided plates and things like that. Those are portions. So we wanted to kind of see if we could make this into a product that people would actually use every day and have these visual cues. Again, I'm in advertising, and that's advertising is a lot of visual cues. So and again, if we can make it sort of funny, a little bit irreverent, people be more likely, I think, to be drawn to it. And it's also a bit of a conversation starter for us. So we did that, and we actually, for the glasses especially, we really went down and got specific, because what is what we call a perfect pour? It's about 6 ounces. If you go different places, it's a little less. Usually, it's a lot more. They'll pour things in these huge wine glasses. So we went out and we designed glasses that have a perfect 6 ounce pour on the bottom line, which is kind of a straight sweet spot, and then sort of a funny, irreverent over pour line about 10 ounces. So it's really just to keep an eye, your eye on what you're consuming, and do it in a funny way. And then one thing we discovered when we started making the samples was that if you pour 4 glasses to 6 ounces, it's pretty much a bottle of wine. So it's a nice sort of measuring device that way too. If you have, you have another couple over and you have a bottle of wine, that everyone gets 1 glass exactly. So it just kind of worked out that way. And again, we thought about it probably 10 years ago, but it couldn't have been implemented without Mary, because I can't do anything other than think up funny things.
You can think up the ideas, and
that's pretty much it. But honestly, it took us a while to make it come to fruition.
Find a factory, find a warehouse. We had one point we were thinking about doing it in our basement, and we decided, oh no, there's not enough bubble wrap in the world to. So a lot of logistics. Everything's made in the United States, though, to keep it close to home and for simplicity's sake as well.
Yeah.
It did take us a while for that.
And so we started the idea probably 10 years ago. We started the actual production probably about 4 or 5 years ago. 4 years.
Wow. It's just amazing. That is, and that's the story, folks. This is one of these. I love this because these kind of stories, they bleed over into other areas of our lives. I always am around here for people who are really working on changing their relationship with alcohol, changing their habits, becoming aware. It's we want to create sustainable change. We want to create a life that we're committed to living to the rest of our lives. These things take time, right?
They do.
Things take time, and ideas take time. And look how long you've been working on this project. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a pretty impatient person, so it's been a real challenge for me. Because once you decide, you got to go all in. You have to go do it. And, it's time consuming. Because obviously we both
have full-time jobs.
Yeah, and
we have a couple teenagers.
Yeah,
or did. Now they're older. Well, no, they're
no, we still have them.
We still have them.
They've just grown.
One's
still a teenager. Yeah.
So it's very interesting that I'm really. I'm sure people at least that are listening, because my audience is very dialed into standard drinks, because I talk about standard drinks all the time. Now, interestingly enough, a standard drink of wine is actually 5 ounces.
Lower, right? Yeah.
Right. And so, but what is interesting about that is I was looking at that when I was looking at the glasses. You guys were sweet enough to send me some ahead of time, and I got to look at them, and they're just gorgeous. But they're also, so what I thought was really also interesting, folks. So yes, so the first line on your glass is 6 ounces, which again, to your point, Dan, if you're sharing a bottle of wine between 4 people, because I typically tell people a bottle of wine is 5 drinks, right? If it is, if you're sharing it between 4, people tend to pour over and give that 6th ounce, which really isn't a problem if you're sticking to low risk limits for women. You're going to be, 1.2 as opposed to 1.0 standard drinks per day. What I really thought, what I love too, is the idea that, because sometimes, you want to, you're being cognizant and everything else. You could drink, right? You could pour up to the big glass, that's 10, and it's going to be 2 standard drinks. Okay. So I'm not going to have a second glass. I'm just I know I'm going to have 2, right?
Because we did, it's funny, we did look at 5 ounces, and the strange thing is, looking in, getting glasses sorted out, it looked like it was too little in it. So we wanted something, so we wanted something that looked like normal or average enough. And then we have, again, serendipity. It turns out that 4 of those is a bottle of wine. So we're like, oh, okay, well, we like that, symmetry.
Right. I mean, and it's just, like I said, I just know that people are going to be going, wait a minute, you say 5 ounces all the time. Right. I do. I say standard drinks, but you also don't have, and so that's also, and it comes into conversation too with your, with the old fashioned cups or the low, or whatever you call it, low balls, because you have, it's a 2 ounce pour, correct?
Right.
Yeah. For the whiskey and bourbon. Yeah. It's like, but then we also
couldn't go any lower.
Actually. Yeah. You really couldn't to get the printing on there.
Logistically, the printer couldn't go any lower than that.
But that is, a 2 ounces, 2 fingers, like that's kind of a normal, it should be, and of course you can add, rocks and things to it. But then again, there's a 5 ounce one if you're really, again, kind of having a rough day. No, I mean, if you're really just like, if you want to mix it with something else, then you get the idea.
Yeah, right.
It's really, we take that part, pretty seriously, because you don't want to just throw out a number, throw out, something that really ties in with what the recommendations are, like you said, like a 5,
Right.
I think 5.3 or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's good. So if we could, stay as close as we can to that, we think that'd be very helpful as you're kind of, again, you see it every time you pour, and that's the thing we liked about it. Mary has this term. She says it's like a Trojan horse. You start drinking out of this wine glass, and then suddenly you realize you never go past that bottom line. And that's what we do. Like, we drink wine's our probably favorite drink, and you find after a few days you don't even think about going over that line. So it's there all the time. So it really reinforces kind of that behavior.
Well, I don't think we can't do it. We can't do enough to help people have a positive way of reframing that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I really loved. So your glasses, folks. So we're not really giving them, it's hard to give them, do them justice talking about them verbally, but give us some examples of what the glasses say, because that's the irreverent part. That's the fun part. And the reason it's important, because one of the things that people don't want, right, is a glass on the side that says, I'm not supposed to drink more than this. Right. Like, I shouldn't drink more than this. This is my good person line. This is my bad person.
Yeah, and exactly. And we don't want to make it seem like you're making a poor decision or anything like that. It's really to reinforce.
Naggy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
What do we call it? Like your BFF who's looking out for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's just a little watch. It's not scolding, and it's not speaking. It is supposed to be, mindful. And again, we think that the humor obviously is the thing that kind of gets the conversation started, gets people talking about it. It's really great to see somebody sort of discover, like, they look at the bottom line, they go, that's that, and then they see the top and they go, oh, that's cute, but then they realize what the meaning is. When you explain the 6-ounce pour, and like, oh, that's clever. So it just keeps them, talking, and it keeps them engaged, I think, with what they're drinking, rather than just, again, like you see, blindly pouring or something like that. So, I mean, we do, which we sent you one, right, Molly?
Yeah, you sent me 3, but like the one that I love was, and probably because it seems kind of, it's holiday-esque right now, is delightful is the low line, and frightful is the top line, right? So that's the general, and then I think I got one that was nonfiction for the bottom line, and non-diction for the top line. Right. So
that's one of our book clubs.
We've got
club ones.
Yeah, we've got a few themes that we do. So we, keep people sort of going throughout the year. There's themes for, like you said, a Christmas one was the one you had. That one is we've got 2 book club collections, because book clubs are big, and Mary's part of a book club as well. So it's a great thing when friends get together too, because it really, again, you can laugh about it, but you see the undertones and you see what it's actually keeping you in check and keeping you mindful of what you're putting in your glass. So that's really the goal for that. The whole line, really. And some of our whiskey ones, like probably one of our best sellers is probably Whiskey for the Bottom Line, then Frisky for the Top Line. So that one's it's a big hit. Again, people like it because it's funny, but they realize the purpose of it and the perfect pours, and they like it even more. So that's kind of and they make great. That's what a lot of people give them as gifts. So that's really a wonderful thing for us.
Yeah, and I think like I said, there's for people who, like my listeners, who are, as I said, some of them have really struggled to have a peaceful relationship with alcohol. And one of the just tenets that I have is that we have to plan, and we have to have a plan in place, and we have to measure. We have to pay attention, right? But there's a way to do that in what these glasses can allow people to do, is to do that in a way that isn't embarrassing around other people, because a lot of people have a lot of social concern about being out with people and being embarrassed that they're, or not being able to drink like everybody else, or like they're going to be pressured, or they're not going to be able to pay attention because people are, and it's like, well, you know what? You have your glass. You know exactly what you've poured. You know exactly what it is. You don't have to, and it's fun, but nobody's paying attention because it's got this great little fun, irreverent saying on it. It's a great tool to have, just again, in the tool belt. I always tell people, figure out whatever your whatever your favorite glass is, figure out where 5 ounces is.
Right.
But this is a, and then use it that way. But this is a more, I don't know, fun and
elegant solution
way. Yeah.
Hey everyone, just a quick break to talk with you about Sunnyside. Now, you've heard me mention Sunnyside many times before. You've heard me talk with Nick and Ian, the founders of Sunnyside. And I just want to share with you why I am so passionate about this company. They are way more than just a drink tracking app. They are really about helping people create a mindful relationship with alcohol. And they stand for a life that is about having more, not less, right? There are more rested mornings, more days when you're feeling your absolute best, when you have more energy and positivity. Sunnyside is not there to tell you to never go out, to never drink, but they are there to help you enjoy your life and to wake up and be ready to be your shining best. It is not an all or nothing approach. It is friendly, it is approachable, and it is absolutely judgment free. They want to be a solution that fits into your unique lifestyle, and I think that's exactly what they've created. You can register for a free 15-day trial. Go to www.sunnyside.co/minimalist to get started. That's www.sunnyside.co/minimalist to try Sunnyside today.
All the glasses, that's another thing. When we were doing our research, all the glasses you see are different. They're different sizes. They're 15 ounces, 13, they're 20. They have ones like that. And there's a couple, most of the glasses you see that are quote unquote funny wine glasses, all joke on the other side of it. Like, hey, you should be like, isn't it hilarious? We're drinking so much. There's glasses out there, which we've posted on our social media, that these huge wine glasses, they hold a full bottle of wine. And I'm thinking to myself, people think that's funny. And, on first glance, you might chuckle, then go, oh, wow. But when you think about it, isn't it kind of,
disgusting.
Gross that you're, here like an old frat guy and I'm drinking a whole bottle of wine here. It's funny, not funny, and we really we sort of hate that because we see so many glasses that just make sort of fun of drinking. And isn't it great that we're drinking so much? So, you talk about relationships with alcohol. That's not a healthy relationship.
No.
So, and, I've got people, and heredity is another thing, a lot of people, it runs in families a bit too, drinking too much. So I've seen that up close. So, I don't find anything really funny about it. Although we like our products to be funny, we also like them to be, well used and well intended, so that's really cool.
No, and I think that's what's great. I mean, and agreed. Part of the issue, and you kind of the history of the company, just the oversized and the the portions, and being a part of the advertising world, Dan, you can appreciate this. The reason that we are where we are with alcohol in this world, in this country, is because it not in small part due to the messages that we get from advertising, from social media, and it's more is better, which is just absolutely not true when it comes to alcohol. More is not better.
Or food, we talk about that.
Or food, for that fact. Definitely, alcohol, the messages that we receive are so counterintuitive to what the truths of alcohol really are. We do not perceive it. When the ban started coming for advertising on smoking and all of the links were made by the Surgeon General, we're talking, I'm talking decades ago, right? It really, and then they took away the opportunities for tobacco to be advertised on television or any place else where they couldn't, and then for a long time, then it was only outdoor, and then eventually none. And that's because of the health consequences. The big thing is that the health consequences with alcohol are just as significant and just as have been causing they cause just as many problems. It's just not as direct of a link, and it's not as easy to isolate because of the way that we cannot give people only alcohol and you know what I mean? And
right.
and isolate it. But it's very interesting to me that an advertising guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can appreciate the power of advertising in this relationship. And now you're kind of stepping back and taking a different, the positive sides of advertising, which I find to be the copywriting, the creativity, the
Yeah.
things that, and using that to still share a really important, an important message, I think.
Yeah, thank you. That's really honestly our intent. We have a couple sort of taglines. We call it mischief and moderation, fun and functional. The idea that really appeals to us is we're kind of hopefully helping, solve a problem, or at least, make people more mindful of what they're doing, but then of course make it fun. One of the nicest things I think we ever got was an email from a customer who had bought the glasses for his wife, who had been drinking. She really started to have a drinking problem. And so he bought her these glasses, and they liked them because they were funny and everything, but they started using them, and he got back and told me that, it's helped tremendously. And I never even thought about it in such terms like that. I mean, I hoped it was helpful, but I didn't think it was really going to be that helpful in a way. I was like, wow. So you've really made a difference, and it really felt good to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right. And that's kind of what led us to the moderation management team and Sunnyside and everything. And because, we kind of realized that, hey, this isn't, I love your word tool. It's a nice tool, and it's a pretty tool and it's fun tool to use. So that's, we wanted to reach out to them to offer, our product at we're going to give them a discount, after the first of the year. They're members on their Facebook page, and, just to have it there for them.
Mm. You were talking about advertising in general, like the smoking and everything, and with alcohol. You noticed in the last 20 years they've started putting labeling on there about, drink responsibly, all that stuff. Everybody does it on every label because they have to. But I thought, one thing we're also trying to do in the background is partner with alcohol, companies. We've got some ideas like for aviation gin or things like that, because everybody says in their label, please drink responsibly, but who's really putting their money where their mouth is? So the idea is here's a custom glass they could sell. Here's our beverage. We want you to like it and consume it, but here, be mindful of it. So we're actually trying to do that end as well, in addition to our regular retail. So we're trying to partner with companies to do that.
One of the things I talk about a lot around here is just getting the conversation around alcohol to be much more neutral in terms of the morality kind of historically, again, if you look at where we stand in terms of how to create these peaceful relationships with alcohol, right? There seems to be two camps. You either can drink and people know how to moderate, and you just logically understand kind of what's the right amount to be drinking, or you're broken and you cannot, and you have a problem, and you're in the powerless camp over here, and you need solutions that are abstinence based. And I want us to, again, it needs to be, you're not good or bad, you're not right or wrong, you just don't know what you don't know. And once you learn what you can't, what's right in terms of the science, where the low risk limits, what do I mean when I talk about, for me, when I talk about low risk limits, where do those limits even come from? What are the trade-offs I'm making with my sleep, with my anxiety levels when I choose to, quote unquote, overdrink? And those are the kind of conversations I want us to be having. I don't believe that there's anybody that is powerless to change their relationship with alcohol. And but it is important to have a toolbox, to have a skill set, and any way that we can do that in the model of harm reduction, right? In harm reduction, what we're doing is just, we're not concerned as much about whether or not we're sticking to those low risk limits or those moderate guidelines. We're more concerned that we're drinking less than we were before. And a lot of people did that, especially over the pandemic years. People were really just like, they went from drinking a glass of wine a night to a bottle. And it just happens without when you're not paying attention. So this is just another way to help people stay engaged with their own selves, with their bodies, and paying attention.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's a funny thing. Even now, again, we've had these glasses around for years, and these are the ones that we drink out of at home. You still look. I never do a blind pour. I still look at the bottom line every time.
Yeah,
I see it every time. Rather, So it definitely it's ingrained now.
It's like a stop sign.
It is. It's like a stop sign. And that's what a stop sign is, right? It's a visual cue. So that's what that bottom line is, like a stop sign. Like, this is good. You're good here. So yeah, I'm hoping that's what everyone thinks when they use them. The same thing happens.
So tell me what's on the docket for 2023. Any new things coming up for you guys?
Well, I mean, we're expanding. Like, we try to. This is just literally just the two of us. So things take longer than they should, or we'd like them to, rather. So, and again, we don't carry too much inventory because we're small. But we're always coming up with new themes for every event or month. Like, for example, we have Valentine's and Father's Day, and so we're adding a Mother's Day one this year, I believe. St. Patrick's Day, things like that. So we're spreading out some of that, and we're also considering different materials. See if we can get unbreakable glass so people can take them outdoors.
And on boats. I have a friend who boats, and she's like, "When are you going to do the unbreakables? I need the unbreakables."
Yeah,
so,
right.
They're and probably don't. I'd love to educate any listener I can. Acrylic glasses are twice as much as glass. That's how much they cost. So when
be ready for it, folks.
Well, the thing is, you wouldn't think it.
I didn't.
You think that quote unquote plastic or unbreakables are cheaper. I would just assume. Yeah. Because the glass is very nice. It's hefty. It feels good. You'd assume that the acrylic would be cheaper, but it's not. No. So that's something that is possible.
Being on the boats, but also just being outside. I mean, my backyard's pretty much a lot of concrete, so unbreakables are good.
Yeah, it'll happen. It will happen eventually.
Yeah. So we're trying to work on that. Water. Maybe water.
Yeah, we're actually toying with another idea of a water bottle, because with alcohol, obviously we're trying to moderate and not drink too much. With water, everyone says that they're always trying to drink more.
Right.
So it's almost like a reverse idea, where the sweet spot is actually near the top. And what I mean? So we're trying to do something with that, sort of reverse that, because get people to, be more, drink more water during the day.
And a beer glass. We've been trying to figure out how to do a beer glass. For a lot of people have asked us. It's a little more complicated because with a beer, you really do pour all the way up, no matter what.
Like a pint glass usually. So
with a can. So it's a little more in order to get those lines right, one, you have to have kind of a bigger glass, which we don't necessarily want.
Right.
But we've been thinking about it for a long time, and we would like to kind of get that in there as well.
Well, there's a whole other conversation we could have, because people, the problem, the alcohol, not the problem, but alcohol by volume. Mm-hmm. That's the reason standard drinks are the way they are. Alcohol by volume plays into it. So with the craft beers nowadays, the standard drink pour is actually ending 8 to 9 ounces.
Right.
So
exactly.
If you're drinking a craft beer, you really should drink a smaller amount to make it a standard drink. So it's, I don't know.
No, because we were thinking obviously pints, too much anyway, but that's when you go to a pub.
You always get a pint, right? I mean, that's one of the problems. I never counted my pints as anything more than one. When I was,
which is like one, exactly.
A pint of a craft brew is actually more like 1.8 standard drinks.
So there's something to think about. So we've got some things on the horizon, and so that's kind of what the plan is for 2023.
Awesome. Well, Dan, Mary, super great to meet you guys. Thank you so much for talking with me about this, for sharing your products with my audience, with the folks as well. Mm-hmm. I think it's just awesome. And I hope everybody will check it out. I can't wait to see what Valentine's Day is. That's the next big holiday. And so we will link everything in the show notes, folks. You can find them at www.pourtions. That's POURTIONS.net.
Yes. Right? Thank you, Molly. That was really wonderful. Thanks. Really appreciate you this time.
Absolutely. Have a very happy holiday.
Okay. You too, Molly. Feel better.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Minimalist podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping you change your drinking habits and to create a peaceful relationship with alcohol. Use something you learned in today's episode and apply it to your life this week. Transformation is possible. You have the power to change your relationship with alcohol now. For more information, please visit me at www.mollywatts.com.